RRR is gaining a lot of attention outside India, especially in the West. It did receive a few criticism, like all movies do. Some of these seem like fair criticism, others not so much, and I have issues with a small subsection of those criticism that some articles are stating. The idea that symbol of Hindu gods have Hindu nationalist elements is the least convincing one to me because of the narrative behind it. The current political climate in India is definitely ripe for taking religious symbols and slogans as being outright Hindu nationalism, and there is genuine concern regarding the treatment of minorities and hypernationalism. A film produced in such circumstances cannot be separated from the social context in which it is made. So, no matter how innocent, Hindu symbols could end up being political. And this has been primarily post 2014 when the current government first came to power at the center. But at the same time, how politics of Hindu nationalism and in general politics plays out differs from state to state and is subject to the local politics. The subtleties changes with the region. For starters, the movie is made in Telugu language, which is primarily spoken in the states of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. Neither of these states is ruled by the ruling party at the center. Only 1 out of 5 South Indian state is. The political party at the center does not have a strong presence in the south compared to North India, even though the effects of right-wing wave has been experienced all across the country. The go-to issues in the Hindi heartland, where Bollywood is the main dominating film industry, will not work that effectively in other regions. Political entities across India would say different things on the same issue to woo the voters. Beef ban is a good example where you can see this happen. Basically, you cannot use one movie to judge the politics of the entire nation. The criticisms hinted the idea that the use of religious figures are problematic or political. In Indian movies, using these kinds of symbolism are quite common. Some could be religious or cultural, and it varies from region to region. Sometimes these are very subtle and can escape a casual viewer. Other times it can be blatant, like in RRR. But it exists and has always been part of the storytelling. So it confuses me when I read such opinions as if movies have never done this. The father of Indian cinema, Dadasaheb Phalke, released the first ever full-length film titled Raja Harishchandra in 1913. Films based on mythological and historical figures were popular since the beginning. It is not just Hindu epics, it also includes folk stories, folk heroes, freedom fighters, and famous novels. Traditional folk arts, classical dances, mythology, Sanskrit, and Parsi theatre were huge influences, and these had elements of religion, culture, and performance arts infused in it. So, it should not come as a surprise that religious stories were being made. In an article, I read how families of the lead actors came into the field while acting as iconic characters from Hindu epics. And it is true, but it is the same for every major movie industry across India. In the Malayalam movie Bhishma Parvam, the title translates to the chapter of Bhishma, which references a character from Mahabharata, even though the main family shown in the movie are mostly Christians and some Muslim members. In Ghar More Pardesiya, the visuals in the song is enactment of Ramayana, even in the scenes where Muslim hero interacts with the Hindu heroine. Why? Well, it looks stunning, I guess. In the Tamil movie Vikram Veda, the name references to the stories of King Vikramaditya and ghost Vedal. The king is supposed to carry Vedal, who is in the form of a corpse hanging upside down on a treetop, and take him to a destination without uttering a single word. Vedal tells several stories to the king and asks a question at the end of it that is of moral and psychological nature. In the movie, the gangster Veda voluntarily surrenders himself and tells the police officer Vikram 3 stories, which changes the perception of good and evil. Even the film's title poster is stylized to resemble Vikramaditya's sword and Vedal's tail. The Malayalam movie Namukku Parkan Mundiri Thopugal is a passage from the biblical book The Song of Solomon, which the hero uses to propose to the girl.
എനിക്ക് കാണുന്നുണ്ട്.
എങ്കിൽ കൊണ്ടുപോണ കാര്യം ഞാൻ ഏറ്റു. ശലോമോന്റെ സോങ് ഓഫ് സോങ്സിൽ പറയുന്ന പോലെ നമുക്ക് ഗ്രാമങ്ങളിൽ ചെന്ന് രാപ്പാർക്കാം. അതികാലത്ത് എഴുന്നേറ്റ് മുന്തിരിത്തോട്ടങ്ങളിൽ പോയി മുന്തിരിവള്ളി തളിർത്ത് പൂവിടുകയും മാതള നാരകം പൂക്കുകയും ചെയ്തുവോ നോക്കാം. അതിന്റെ അടുത്ത ലൈൻ എന്താണെന്നറിയാം? ഓയ് ബൈബിൾ എടുത്ത് വെച്ച് നോക്ക്.
നമുക്ക് ഗ്രാമങ്ങളിൽ ചെന്ന് രാപ്പാർക്കാം. അതികാലത്ത് എഴുന്നേറ്റ് മുന്തിരിത്തോട്ടങ്ങളിൽ പോയി മുന്തിരിവള്ളി തളിർത്ത് പൂവിടുകയും മാതള നാരകം പൂക്കുകയും ചെയ്തു എന്ന് നോക്കാം. അവിടെ വെച്ച് ഞാൻ നിനക്കെന്റെ പ്രേമം തരും.
അവിടെ വെച്ച് ഞാൻ നിനക്കെന്റെ പ്രേമം തരും.
The song Radha Kaise Na Jale from Lagan references Krishna and Radha. In the lyrics, Radha is jealous of the gopis or young girls talking to Krishna. Krishna in return asks why Radha is jealous when she is the one in his heart. The song parallels the jealousy the heroine feels over the other girl. The song Raravenu in Malayalam movie Mr. Butler, the Krishna and gopis are given a more comical twist. The plot is that the hero moves into a building and charms all the housewives with his cooking skills and problem-solving abilities. His name is Gopala Krishna, so Gopal is surrounded by gopis. Krishna has been used as metaphors in a lot of context. Krishna as an infant and child are the subject of many lullabies. Krishna and Radha represent young or teenage love. Krishna and Meera for devotion, etc. In the Hindi movie Anwar, the main character is a Muslim who is researching about ancient Hindu temples. That probably explains why he envisions himself as Krishna. His love story is doomed, and in the end, as he lies dying, he has a vision of himself as Lord Krishna and his love interest Mehru as Meera, reuniting with each other. The film touches on communal hate and violence, and there are some really symbolic visuals, like in the ending scene where a kid emerges from the crowd looking at the hero. The t-shirt he is wearing is in the colors of the Indian flag. The Malayalam film E Mayyav has many Christian references in the movie, including the film's title, which is an abbreviation of Ishwa Mariam Yosef, which in some Christian communities is a prayer whispered in the ears of the deceased. The song Khwaja Mere Khwaja from Jodha Akbar and Kun Faya Kun from Rockstar both use Sufi music to signify a spiritual experience. In Jodha Akbar, Akbar joins the group of Sufis and there is a burst of light signifying some sort of mental enlightenment. In Kun Faya Kun, the hero who dreams of becoming a singer is thrown out by his family and has to take refuge in the Nizamuddin Dargah. He spends his days singing along with other singers and eventually gets his break. The title is Quranic and the song has Arabic phrases in the lyrics. Hindi movie Loop Lapeta, an official adaptation of an award-winning German film, references the story of Savitri and Satyavan. In Indian movies, a ghost is obviously scared of religious symbols of any religion, but there are also movies that shows the forces of different religions coming together against the ghost. Hindi movie Papi Gudiya, Malayalam film Agasha Ganga, and the Telugu film Arundhati are good examples of this. The common theme is still evil defeated by the good or divine. if Ram is too much of religion. The scenes from Tamil movie Alvar has the hero seek revenge from the villains under the disguise of Lord Ram, then Krishna, and in the end Narsimha, all avatars of Lord Vishnu. The teaser of the new Tamil movie Vadi has goddess Saraswati in the teaser thumbnail. Saraswati is the goddess of education and arts. The title means teacher and shows students in uniform, so one can guess the symbols are hinting at educational institutions. There are many more movies that does it. In a nutshell, RRR is not doing anything new by using religious references. The names for movies, song sequences, posters, all of it sets up the theme and story for the movie. Let's first take the Mahabharat and Ramayana references. Bhim's namesake is a character from Mahabharat. Second oldest among the Pandava brothers, Bhim is said to have a towering strength comparable to 10,000 elephants. He also has a voracious appetite to match his physical strength. Bhim in the movie is similar to that. He lifts and kicks objects like it is nothing. He is gentle, innocent, and sincere, but can become ferocious when the situation calls for it. Another reference for Bhim is Hanuman from Ramayana. Hanuman and Ram meet while Ram is searching for his wife Sita, who is kidnapped by Ravan. Hanuman becomes an ardent devotee of Lord Ram and is shown to share a strong friendship and brotherhood. This is reflected in the movie in how Ram and Bhim connect almost instantaneously when they meet. In Ramayana, Ram sends an army of monkeys, including Hanuman, to find Sita. Hanuman is given Ram's ring for Sita to identify. In the movie, this is reversed. Bhim goes in search for Ram in the prison escape scene with the pendant that belongs to Sita. Another less obvious connection is that it is the kidnapping of Sita by Ravan that sets the stage for events in Ramayana. In the movie, it is Malli's kidnapping which prompts Bhim to go to Delhi. The last scene of Piggyback is not just an epic scene but a great callback to Ramayana. In real life, Alluri's name was Alluri Ramaraju. He had a love interest named Sita who died young and left him heartbroken. He decided to prefix her name to his to make her memory eternal, making his name Alluri Sita Ramaraju. Let's look at the outfit. Ram in the last outfit is something that outside Telugu speaking areas were mistaken as reference to Lord Ram himself. This is the biggest reason why so many people call it a Hindu nationalist movie. But the truth happens to be that the actual Alluri Sita Ramaraju did dress like that. The outfit itself is not specific to Lord Ram, but he is identified by the bow and arrow. The god Ram is a prince. His usual clothes are more glamorous. He wears this outfit along with Lakshman and Sita when they are in exile in the forest. Saints or monks in ancient times are shown wearing similar attire. Even in modern context, saffron is considered sacred, and people who have given up on material life and taken a path of religion or spiritualism do wear saffron clothes. This can also be seen in pop culture and nowadays is also associated with right-wing politics. Alluri Sita Ramaraju is said to have become a sannyasi at the age of 18, and that could explain his outfit and the symbolism. This scene, ironically, is the only historically accurate thing in the entire movie. I am sure the Telugu audience had a totally different and unique experience in that scene, since they saw it as the personification of the real Alluri Sita Ramaraju and not a callback to Ram the god as the rest of India did. Someone pointed out that it was like seeing a Marvel character in their superhero suit for the first time. Komaram Bhim fought against the Nizams in Hyderabad before India attained independence. There were criticisms even from the so-called Hindu nationalists, which should not have happened if the creators were pampering to that audience. Depiction of Komaram Bhim as a Muslim man was called as a distortion of history. The Gond community, the tribe from which Komaram Bhim belongs to, also raised concerns saying that it was misrepresenting the Adivasi leader who fought for tribal rights. But they also contested the narrative of Bhim as a Hindu leader, as they claim Gonds are neither Hindus nor Muslims and follow animism. Now, Hinduism itself is like a collection of belief systems, and the core beliefs has elements of nature worship. Adding into this complexity, how Hinduism is practiced differs region to region. A whole mix of traditions get clubbed together under the banner of Hinduism. The religious beliefs of the tribals vary a lot, but at the same time were influenced over time by the Hindu traditions surrounding them and vice versa. There has been some demand to categorize the religion or beliefs of tribals as animism and not Hinduism. Out of all the criticism, the one about tribal representation is the one I see some truth to it. But at the same time, this is a mass masala action film. So, accurate representation does take a backseat. Another criticism was how the tribal character is shown stereotypically being close to nature and animals. But Bhim is also shown riding a motorbike, which is not a stereotype. I get why the cliche is an issue. But if there is any community that has a great depth of knowledge and familiarity with the forest, it would be the tribal groups. Tulsi Gowda, who won Padma Shri in 2020, is known as the Encyclopedia of Forest due to her vast knowledge about plants and herbs. Lakshmikutti Amma, who received Padma Shri in 2018, practices traditional medicine. In the movie, Bhim uses what knowledge and skills he has for his plans. He used the resources available to him. Another criticism was how the role of Bhim was subservient to the role of Ram. This leans on the narrative that Bhim as tribal is overshadowed by Ram, who is of a higher caste, and that there are no actual Muslims in the movie. The identity of Ram, a Brahmin, Bhim as Gond, and Bhim disguised as Akhtar, who is a Muslim, is clearly shown. But it does not feel to me any one of the identity was elevated at the expense of the other. Ram is a Brahmin. Ram is shown wearing a thread which Brahmins wear even today. I can see how this can be read as pandering to a specific section. But the movie does something similar for Bhim as well. Bhim's identity as Gond is shown with his sacred thread that he wears. He uses the same thread for Ram's sake, and in the interval scene becomes a symbol of Ram's betrayal and their connection. In the ending scene, Bhim is shown asking Ram to teach him. So the angle of criticism is that Bhim, the tribal, is asking Ram, the higher class, to teach him. Ram is also shown writing Jal Jangal Zameen, a phrase that was originally coined by Komaram Bhim. Now, in real life, not many people outside of a few states would have heard of Komaram Bhim, but I am sure almost everyone has heard the phrase. It is still used in modern times, especially during protests by tribals. So the fact that Ram is the one writing it on the flag does make you question it. The director's past movie also does not help the situation. In real life, Alluri was educated, even though he dropped out of high school. He mastered different languages privately and took interest in other subjects as well. Komaram Bhim grew up in the tribal populated forest and received no formal education. While hiding away from the Nizams, he was granted refuge by a local publisher who taught him different languages. In the movie, it is a bit more balanced than just saying it was all Ram. Ram says that Bhim is the one who gave him the attire. The attire the real Alluri Sitaramaraju is known for. So when Ram asks Bhim what he wants in return, Bhim tells him to teach him. Ram writes the phrase with his blood on the flag. The film takes a creative liberty in showing how Ram and Bhim influence each other in what they are most recognized for. So it's not like he was being sidetracked, as some critics say. In real life, they have never met, but at the end of the day, this is a historical fantasy. And I don't think saving a child versus saving a nation is really a competition. Both are important and interlinked in a way in the film. Now, I find the mention of Ram's character from a higher caste in connection to the actual revolutionary interesting because Alluri Sitaramaraju is known for leading revolt against the British called the Rampa or Manyam Rebellion in 1922. The tribals in the region followed Podu system or shifting cultivation. The British brought the Madras Forest Act of 1882, which restricted the movement of the tribals in the area. Similar situations were happening in other parts of the country as well. Alluri Sitaramaraju was moved by the plight of the people and organized a rebellion. Most of the people with him were tribals, along with other groups. So both are associated with tribal uprisings. So stating that Bhim's role is subservient to Ram's character because Ram is of a higher class and Bhim is a tribal does not sit well with me. There were criticisms that there is no Muslim character shown except Bhim's disguise. But Bhim's Muslim family, who helped him hide in their house, is given screen time. Why this family was helping him was probably not clear, but they were visible in the movie. Bhim seems very cordial with his Muslim family and even invites Ram to his home. We can see Bhim in Ram's house, which just sets up how close they have become as friends. In the scene where Ram is having a meal together with Akhtar's family, a single big plate is placed which is shared among them. This is not common, and I believe this is specific to Bore Muslims or in the Wazwan setting from Jammu and Kashmir, where in the older times had a similar system of sharing a single plate among 4 people. The crowd in the scenes in Delhi are shown as a diverse group. Regarding the dresses which Bhim's friends are wearing, one of them looks like a typical North Indian, other a Punjabi, and Bhim as a Muslim. They are hiding as members of different communities. Even the women are shown wearing different types of clothes. This might be how Delhi in those times would have looked like, and S.S. Rajamouli did say that his team looked at old videos of India to get the look right. Bhim's disguise as a Muslim makes him less suspicious when he gets the meat for the wild animals. And since his Muslim father is involved in fixing motorcycle, it explains why Akhtar is so knowledgeable. So Bhim disguised as a Muslim and riding a motorbike has a purpose. It ties well with the story. Now RRR is being called a right-wing Hindu nationalist movie since India is currently ruled by right-wing party at the central government. India is a highly diverse nation. Each state has its own culture, language, history, even political history, and that is reflected in the movies. So the movie style and audience expectations also varies with the industry. Even within the South Indian industries, the filmmaking style can differ. In the same breath, RRR is most likely to be seen as a Hindu nationalist in the north than the south. Phrases like Jai Shri Ram being associated with right wing even in the interiors of India is a fairly new thing. But the phrase is as common as say Jai Shri Shankar or Jai Ma Kali. It can become political based on the context though. Arguments that RRR is a Hindu propaganda is a stretch because there are other movies that are more leaning towards that direction. Samrat Prithviraj was made tax-free in several states. Overall story failed to impress the public, but the movie had more support than RRR from state governments in terms of tax exemption. So even nationalist movies with Hindu theme will not work if it is not good. I am curious what Brahmastra would be called since it draws inspiration directly from Hindu mythology. You see, in India, just because you make a movie inspired by Hinduism or India's culture and history does not mean you will automatically get support from the central and state governments. Instead, anyone can file a BIL claiming hurt sentiments, and not every claim is genuine. And this is not confined to one religion, culture, or state. Now, one of the other criticism was about how Muslims in Indian movies are depicted as bad characters and stereotyped. There are many articles on the topic. These articles could be referring to a specific industry or Indian cinema as a whole, and I agree with it to an extent. But that does not mean no Muslim characters as main leads exist. The issue I have is that certain criticisms go to the extreme and gives the impression that in India you cannot have movies that have Muslims as main lead. When I thought of Muslim characters in an epic setting, the first movies that came to my mind was Kayamkulam Kuchanni and Marakkar. Both are about folk heroes from Kerala's history. Kayamkulam Kuchanni is about a heroic outlaw from the 19th century who, like Robin Hood, stole from the rich and gave to the poor. Marakkar is about an admiral of the fleet of Samudiris who were the rulers of Kozhikode in 16th century. Jodha Akbar, Veer Zara, Kalang, Ranjana, Bajirao Mastani had one of the lead pair as a Muslim character. Sultan, Gully Boy, Rais had both leads as Muslims. Manto, Lipstick Under My Burqa, Mulk, Secret Superstar, My Name is Khan. These movies have Muslim characters and their religious identity as an important part of the character and story. Also, why would anyone want to show the main character in a Muslim role if it is a Hindu nationalist movie? Just show Bhim fighting the Nizams. Since it is a historical fantasy, you can write a story however you want.
श्रीकृष्णेन सुभद्रायै गर्भवत्यै निरूपितम् चक्रव्यूहप्रवेशस्य रहस्यं चाकुतं हि तत्
ഭഗവാൻ ഭഗവത്ഗീതയിൽ പാടി സംഭവാമി യുഗേ യുഗേ സംഭവാമി യുഗേ യുഗേ കൗരവരിന്നും തൂതിൽ ജയിപ്പു കൃഷ്ണ നീ എവിടെ സംഭവാമി യുഗേ യുഗേ സംഭവാമി യുഗേ യുഗേ മഹാഗണപതി മനസാ സ്മരാമി വസിഷ്ഠവാമദേവാദിവന്ദിത മഹാഗണപതി
Lots of kids grew up hearing and watching stories of Indian mythologies and folklores. The most well known is still Mahabharat and Ramayana. These are not just part of the religion but also makes up the culture and literature and part of a history spanning thousands of years. The stories have deep cultural impact on India. So I won't be surprised if someone wants to make movies out of those stories. That is why Rajamouli's influence from mythology and him making Mahabharat and Ramayana won't be the first time a filmmaker has expressed similar sentiments. Even Amir Khan mentioned about making Mahabharat. It is the same for audience as well. This does not necessarily mean a direct connection to Hindu nationalism. People are just excited to see stories that they are familiar with. It's basically nostalgia and familiarity that is driving that excitement. First, let me be clear on one thing. I am not saying people should not criticize the movie or its makers or that articles should not be written about political issues. Right wing wave and increased aggression against other religions are a reality. My issue is the narrative in some articles that is being given to an audience, most of whom have never seen a single Bollywood movie, let alone an Indian movie. I don't think when Marvel movies release in India, I read about the politics of United States, or even a better example is Parasite. Now, I'm no expert on South Korean culture and political issues, but I don't remember anyone quoting articles explaining the politics of South Korea and problems of basement houses when they were recommending the movie. In a few reviews that I saw on YouTube, people were confusing between Hindu, the religion, and Hindi, the language, while apologizing profusely for possible mispronunciation of actors' names. Some showed interest in understanding the Indian culture and politics, which is great, but I hope they actually talk to Indians living in India as well. Okay, in the current climate, I get why some people are worried about the Hindu imagery and glorification. And I would not mind reading articles, having a different take on things, and explaining the political and religious sides. But what I am seeing in some of these is calling everything that shows Indian history or culture as being Hindu nationalist propaganda. There is no nuance and it irritates me. I read one article which was specifically meant for US audience and it feels like an opinion written by someone who knows India only from the political news headlines. Some of the narrative uses a single movie, that too from the south, to call out the central government's policies. Some of them specifically talked about the Telugu industry and the actors' backgrounds, even when the use of religious symbols are very common to Telugu audience. Sure, there are elements that are problematic. That is true for all cultures in the world. But the issue is that when it comes to India, a certain section automatically calls it right wing. Indian politics has many moving parts and layers. India does not need a right wing prime minister to make Indian stories or glorify revolutionaries or use religious symbolisms. We have always been doing that, whether the end result is good or toxic. To a reader who has never seen Indian movies, these articles are not explaining the subtleties, movie culture, history, differences between different states. Instead, it is about how a single South Indian movie is a big Hindu nationalist propaganda. A while back, there was an article on a game called Raji, which is based on Hindu mythology and created by Indians. The article talked about how the game was leaning on Hindu right wing because Prime Minister Narendra Modi asked domestic industry to adapt Indian culture and folk tales. In a similar way, there was an article on New York Times about how the government promoting sari is a Hindu right wing thing. Sari is worn across the nation by women of all religions. There is immense diversity in sari depending on which region it is from. Sari is a cultural thing. In conclusion, is RRR a nationalist movie? Yes, it is about revolutionaries, it is a patriotic movie. But is it a Hindu nationalist though? From my side, no. It does not do anything new in showing religious symbols that other Indian movies have not done before. But people can interpret it however they want. Who knows, maybe it is a giant propaganda, and I'm failing to see how.